Welcome back to our series of roundtable discussions on the casino. I'm seated here now with Fire Chief Gene Doherty. Next to the Fire Chief is Police Chief Joe Caffarelli. And next to the Police Chief, and I keep wanting to call him Commissioner, but Paul Evans, Head of Security for Suffolk Downs. Is that correct, Paul?
That's correct.
Welcome to all of you. And the focus here in this discussion is public safety and as it relates to the casino and plans that are being made, to provide for public safety to the city if and when a casino does get approved there. And so, starting with fire safety, what sort of issues do you see related to the casino, and what plans are being made to address those issues?
Well, I don't see any real issues. Obviously, there'll be a little more traffic and all, but I think with the plans that they've put in place for some of the relief for if there is traffic, the traffic we have now, to kind of circumvent the city with some of the traffic going to the casino, the improvements to Revere Beach Parkway and things such as that at Route 16 and Route 1. That will help us out. The plans that they have to install what they call traffic emitters at all our traffic signals that will facilitate our apparatus. They have a light on the apparatus, so the police cars that activates a green light in traffic so the traffic flows so we can more readily go forward versus being stuck in traffic. So all those plans are, obviously a plus. On the fire side of things, we've put in, proposed to the mayor's office that the city start up a rescue company and train personnel to a higher level than what our regular firefighters are, to have certain expertise that the city doesn't have available. This is an opportune time to get that done and provide an additional service to the citizens throughout the whole city, and not just because of the casino coming in. So it's a great opportunity on the fire service side.
I think one of the things I was talking about relative to the mitigation package and some of the ideas was the possibility of opening up maybe the fire station at the Point of Pines or other fire stations. And although I'm sure there are no detailed plans at this point, but can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, that's been discussed. In my opinion, I think that the Pine Station, just on the development within the city itself that's proposed, will necessitate that opening, not with the casino. It's my idea that if the casino comes in and we can provide this rescue service, it'll be a great asset for the city like that. But we have a plan with discussions about a new firehouse possibly, and with opening up the Point of Pine. So I think overall it's plus for the fire service on what we're going to be able to provide in addition to the our services now for the city as a whole.
And relative to the casino, if there's a fire or some sort of a health, somebody's had a heart attack or whatever, is it Revere Fire Department that's going to be called to address that?
No, well, it obviously depends on the building you're at Suffolk Downs. What's proposed now for where the casino is, everything is contained in the city of Boston.
Okay.
So Boston will respond. There'll be situations we'll work out as the building goes up as far as response for alarms and things such as that, and they call them line boxes, where community next to a city that has an alarm, our nearest fire apparatus will go in to assist if necessary. So I'm assuming that will transpire. The Andrew One Ladder One that is on the Parkway will be going into the area in the event there is a problem.
And from a fire safety perspective, and you look at the impact of the casino on your department, obviously you've given some thought, I'm sure, to what the impact is there and how many additional resources in terms of people you might need. Is that something that's been developed to the point where you can share with us? And
well, I proposed. I had quite a wish list. But right now, I think with what has been worked out in the agreement, and I'm very satisfied as to what the mayor's committed to, public safety, myself and Chief Caffarelli have had discussions with him as far as police and fire, and I'm very confident that what we've asked for through this mitigation that we'll be able to get for our department and to provide the additional services for the community.
Great, that's great. Anything else about fire safety that I've not addressed in terms of the mitigation? What's in the package? What you have planned?
No, I think obviously the building's going to be put up with the best fire suppression and safety systems there are. So that in itself is any new building going up is always better, that they provide those type of requirements in the codes. So I don't see it being a tax on us, but there are the normal, any building that goes up, there's there's additional services necessary for, the high rises on the beach and things like that. But I don't see it any type of a drain or anything. It's just going to fit into the system.
Yeah. And I guess when you look at it, like you said, most of it's in Boston at this point.
Right.
Hopefully the development will be great enough within the rest of the city that that's going to impact you and you'll get more resources to support that. Yeah.
I would expect that. I'm hoping. We have a plan for that too. Yeah.
There you go. Chief Farrelly, talking about the police department, and I know that if I remember right, it's a memorandum of understanding, I think, that's established between yourself, the Revere Police Department, Boston Police Department, State Police, and I'm assuming the security group within Suffolk Downs as well, in terms of how you all will respond to and coordinate events that go on at Suffolk Downs. Can you speak to that a little bit?
That's correct. There'll be, I'm sure, a fair amount of meetings that are going to have to take place with respect to establishing those memorandums of understanding between the three agencies. And I anticipate working closely with all three, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be something that's going to be cutting edge, I think, in this part of the state. I'm really looking forward to working with the other agencies.
Yeah, Paul, and I'm assuming you're involved in those discussions as well. Is that correct or not correct?
Well, somewhat. I think the real discussions will be as to police jurisdictions.
Okay.
The way it's currently in the legislation, it's the host agreements, Boston and Revere, will sit down with the state police and try to work out who has jurisdictions.
Okay.
Now, as far as the gaming enforcement unit, which is state police and can be an officer from the Revere Department and an officer from the Boston Department, they have exclusive jurisdiction on the gaming floor and anything to do with gaming. Now, as to jurisdictions, other jurisdictions as to maybe crimes in the parking lot or in the hotels and what have you, that's something that has to be addressed in the memorandum of understanding with the state police and Boston and Revere. And if it can't be worked out, then the Gaming Commission will come in and they'll intervene.
Okay. So, Chief, getting back to your department, and the same question that I asked Chief Doherty, relative to the impact of the casino on your police force and what you envision in terms of additional resources that are needed and plans that you're making to address that.
Well, if I can pick up where the Commissioner left off, we expect to have one officer assigned to the gaming enforcement unit that's reimbursable to the police department, so it won't be a burden on my department. And from everything I've spoken to, talking to people, residents, and other officers on the department, the biggest impact we can anticipate is going to be, at least according to people's concerns, is traffic and crime. The traffic is twofold. I think if you look at the anticipated infrastructure changes, should lessen the burden of traffic that's existing today. That, coupled with expanding my staffing levels with an emphasis on traffic enforcement, I think we should be able to minimize the impact on the city.
Now, can you share with us, how many people you think you might need to add to the police force to support what you envision as the impact? Or?
I see Chief Doherty smirking.
And please, if you can't.
We've been in cahoots over this.
With the mayor.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't nailed down firm numbers, but I anticipate I'd like to get about 20% increase in my staffing levels.
Okay. We're at the same, and with the understanding that it's not going to be casino gets a license and we're going to have 20, but build into it. And as the casino continues their construction and phases that they're going through, we will come alongside with necessary personnel to go
Bottom
forward.
line is you guys have done the planning, you know what you need, you've included that in the mitigation package, and that's part of what the use of that money that's being planned.
Correct.
Exactly.
Staying with the police department for a second, in terms of enforcement and I'll call it mitigation of potential for crime increases, because there's a lot of discussion about what will be the crime impact. Will it increase? Will it not increase? And as I was talking with the mayor earlier, a large part of it is what you do to prevent the crime from increasing. Additional patrols in the neighborhoods like Beachmont, Shirley Ave area, which are bordering along the casino. Can you tell us a little bit about what sort of plans or ideas you guys have in terms of that?
Certainly, and again, this is still a work in progress, but I would like to look at opening up another storefront substation in the Beachmont area and increase foot patrols in the Beachmont area as well. And don't forget, we do have the good agreement with the transit police who work the Blue Line. So, you know, there's a lot of other partnerships that we work with as well. But with respect to the Revere Police Department, I do want to put out expanded foot patrols in the Beachmont area.
Yeah. And I would imagine Shirley Ave as well, too. And being from Beachmont, I'm sensitive to that area, and I'm glad to hear that. But you know, that is the issue that I keep hearing back from people. One of the concerns, public safety, is are there going to be additional police forces? What are we doing to keep, if you will, riffraff out of the section, so to speak? And because people feel that looking at the casino, it's an urban casino. It's accessible public transportation. You may have an increase of flow of people who you might know one of the areas in that, and so they talk about additional police forces. So you've got the addressed.
Right, and I look forward to expanding my resources, my staffing levels to address those concerns. You know, both in uniform and just maintaining a presence, and you know, with expanding my detective bureau, commensurate with the uniform patrol, to be able to address those concerns.
Paul, looking at Suffolk Downs and the security force there, and it goes back to what I was talking about earlier about the memorandum of understanding and your role or your force's role. Tell us a little bit about Suffolk Downs security force and what are your roles and responsibilities in all of this?
Well, currently at Suffolk Downs we use Allied Barton, which is a private security. We probably have about 20 officers assigned there for all three shifts. Some are armed, some of them are unarmed. None of them have police powers on the premise. So that if we have a problem, we'll call either Revere, Boston, or right now we have 3 state police officers that are assigned to the Racing Commission who are on premises. So, you know, if there's a problem, our job is to go in there and see if we can mitigate it, downplay it, if you will, and then if we can't, we'll call the police if there's been any crimes on the premises. With the legislation, I don't see that really dramatically changing. You know, whatever we use for a security force, there'll probably be, majority of them will be unarmed, almost like goodwill ambassadors. You know, there will be state police officers and hopefully Boston and Revere officers assigned actually to the gaming floors. And in some ways, if we have a role to play, and it will be in conjunction with the 3 departments, it's, you know, what's going to be critical is intelligence sharing. All 3 departments constantly sharing intelligence. You know, we're going to have some time in the lead up to the opening of a casino to do preparation, education, training along these lines, but intelligence sharing is going to be absolutely critical. Who's in the casino? The other issue is real-time data. What's happening on a daily basis? We all need to know that so we can make the proper response so the community has a sense if there's a problem out there, we're all over it. So that's going to mean a lot of the jurisdictions really being in touch with what's going on, knowing who's coming and who's going. When you talk about, you know, an element coming in, I think one of the things about the legislation is that it provides that people can be excluded by the Gaming Commission. Okay, and one of the things it says, if a person has been convicted of an offense which can result in imprisonment in the state prison for 6 months, they can be excluded. And then it has a clause that says individuals with notorious and unsavory reputations can be excluded. Right. So there are, you know, the commission has the power to say certain people are not welcome. Now, one of the things that we have been doing at Suffolk Downs for quite some time is if people act inappropriately, then we just tell them you're no longer wanted here. If you can't behave yourself on the premises, we trespass them, in essence say you're not allowed to come into it. You know, Suffolk Downs is private property. If people do not behave appropriately, they will not be allowed on the premises. So there are a number of tools in place. I think early on there's going to be a real commitment of, setting a tone as to what is acceptable behavior and what is not acceptable behavior.
And going back to, so you have Allied Barton, you have people walking the floor, you have police officers from the state and Revere and so forth. Watching all the various series on casinos and the movies and stuff, the eyes in the sky and all of that sort of security aspect, who provides that?
Well, that again, Caesars, our partner in this, has something like 52 or 54 casinos, I should know that, around the world. So probably nobody is as good at putting that technology in.
Okay.
And the technology is not going to be limited to inside the casino. It'll be inside and outside to make sure that, we have the safest environment possible. But, my sense is who's ever best at it, it'll be the people we're recommending. And again, when we're doing the intelligence thing, it gives us a sense of sitting back there and saying, do we know the people that are coming in, and are they people that we may have a problem with, and do we have grounds to exclude them or possibly trespass them?
The memorandum of understanding kind of lays the ground rules for communication and coordination amongst you all. Looking at the technology that's going to be used, and I know that, and I'm trying to remember what the word is, but relative to communication, at one point the police couldn't talk with the fire because they were on different channels or whatever, and all of that's been interoperability. Thank you. And a lot of that has been addressed over past years since 9/11 and so forth. In a lot of enforcement areas. What sorts of plans do you have in place, or technology do you need to upgrade, if any, to get to that point amongst the three of you with the state police?
Well, this is going to be part of our ongoing memorandums of understanding, is to establish what networks we're going to use, what technology, and how we're going to share such technology. That's going to be a work in progress.
All right, so you'll all have that communication, but and obviously there will need to be money spent to acquire all of that, and that is part of the mitigation, or is that over and above the mitigation?
Well, just in our regular, we belong to the Urban Area Security Initiative. The commissioner was one of the first people involved in it when Department of Homeland Security set up different areas throughout the United States, and a good deal of grant money comes into these communities to protect the population. And within that, we have the interoperability task force that we have within it that has been providing us the newest communications possible. And just recently, we were, each fire and police were given radios that they're going to field test that have the new 700 megahertz band that the United States government has decided that everybody across the country is going to be on that same band to make it more easily available to talk to each other, interoperability. So we have those radios. Those have all been provided in grants. We got a recent grant as well from UASC to revamp our whole antenna and radio system up on the reservoir. So we've been ahead of that curve all along. So it's not anything we need in the mitigation. We're already on board with that. I think some of the other mitigation that we talked about with Suffolk was that additional cameras at intersections and things like that, the traffic emitters, things like that to facilitate us if there is a problem at an intersection or things like that, that we can respond much more readily with that type of a tool, the cameras and the emitters. So
that's great. And just to go back to one thing you talked about earlier with the traffic, and I just met with Frank and Dan Murphy from CDM Smith along with Chip when we were talking about all the traffic improvements. I was thinking in terms of alleviating traffic, but never thought that it's going to make not necessarily your life totally easy, but much easier, because better traffic situations, less traffic accidents, which call you
correct.
out.
Yeah, and no question. I mean, I believe that it's all for the good that what is going to transpire. I mean, what we have now, we have regular bottlenecks in certain roads on an everyday basis, morning, noon, and night, and there are going to be improvements made within a lot of these intersections that the traffic is going to flow more readily because of these improvements. And for emergencies, for the traffic emitters that are already in all the fire apparatus, we're going to put them in all the police vehicles as well, that this light, when they have their warning lights on, will activate the traffic signal so that it turns green until they bypass that intersection. So they'll be better able to respond to an incident in a more timely manner. So I think it's all good.
It's great. Anything else about the public safety aspects that I haven't hit upon, improvements that are coming about, or issues that you guys are addressing?
I don't think so. I don't, we've had Wonderland Dog Track here for years. We've had Suffolk Downs. I worked at Wonderland as a kid for years. And on a regular basis, they had, on a weekend, 18 to 25,000 people between. Everybody came in at 7:30 to make the double, and everybody left at 11 o'clock at the 10th race. So, I mean, the city, and I don't want to say they're accustomed to it, but the city has been impacted by these venues for a long time.
And not only that, but I remember Suffolk Downs used to let out at 5 o'clock when Wonderland was starting up.
Exactly. So there was always that quagmire like that. And now we're talking, for what the traffic studies have said, that 30% of the population that's going into the venue at Suffolk is going to be coming through Revere. And they're estimated anywhere from 10 to 12,000 cars. Well, if you compare that to Wonderland, and everybody that went to Wonderland was a single guy usually going to the track, I mean, it's less than what that impacted us at the time, and we dealt with it at that time. Everybody wasn't happy, but with the improvements that are going to be made at the traffic, different roadways, I think that's we're going to be on the upside of it.
Going into this, if you can answer the question, is thinking about the casino as it was coming down the road and looking ahead, what was your biggest concern and how has it been addressed by the mitigation package?
I think everybody it gets hit with the traffic. I think that's the thing. Again, I'm a resident of the city. This is going to be a destination with people at a different level of income, I believe, that are coming to this facility. And so the crime factor, there may be some in addition, but there are going to be so many different police agencies and additional officers in the area. You're going to see more police and law enforcement in the area than you ever saw before. So that's going to help suppress things. But I don't see the traffic as being, that everybody's concerned with. I think it's going to improve. I really do.
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Chief,
from
yours.
With respect to the traffic, unlike Wonderland that started at 5 and ended at about 11:30, the casino hours of operation, there's no open, it's not start and stop. So you wouldn't have that influx of traffic at those particular times. So it's more of a...
Which could be a real headache for you.
Well,
it stretches out. It stretches out the
stretched
traffic.
out, exactly. So it's not all at one.
So it can be absorbed.
Lump sum, exactly.
Yeah.
And not to mention, I just want to mention one last thing with respect to Suffolk Downs. We've been working closely with Suffolk Downs for quite some time now, and they've provided us invaluable resources with respect to training I've been able to provide for my department as well as other departments by using the facility. So, it's a partnership that I've already enjoyed, and I look forward to working with them in the future.
That's great, great.
One of the first things that the management people at Suffolk Downs asked me to do was go around the country and look at other places and how they did it, because I'm a total novice to this whole casino business. So I went to Vegas and New Orleans and 3 casinos in Pennsylvania. And interesting, some of the things I learned that almost every place say, if there are problems, they're contained within the casino. It's not spilling out in the neighborhood. That's what I consistently heard talking to chiefs of police and what have you. And it's funny, when I was in Vegas, you talk about, your kind of preconceptions of what it's about. I said, well, did you folks have a real problem if people come in from the outside and commit crimes, chasing them around the country after they've jumped on a plane? No. Our problems are the local people who are, basically, so that's where intelligence becomes critical. Yeah. Where your own people, or not your own people, but people that probably from the surrounding communities. Those are the people we're gonna know them. We're gonna have that type of intelligence. So there's some things that being a novice, I'm saying, wow, that's interesting. But again, a lot of people say, well, we got people from outside and they're easy victims, and our job is going to be to make sure that we have the resources in place to know who those bad guys are and make sure that they get a message early on that they're not going to be welcome.
And the intelligence is such an important thing that it goes back to the issue of identifying where the issue is so you can head it off at the pass so it doesn't become a problem.
Exactly.
Okay. Any last thoughts from any of you at this point relative to the casino and the mitigation and its impact on you?
None of the department. I'll say as a member of the community, I think it's great for the city. I mean, the mitigation package, if you really read it and look at it, and the monies that are going to be provided to the community at a minimum, it's going to be wonderful for the city. There are so many things that are going to be able to be done within the community on a regular basis, from sidewalk improvements and roadways and for the schools and, you know, what they're going to do now, even the stadium, all that stuff. I think it's a plus, you know, and, you know, we would never have this opportunity for the city to do this, and I think it's going to help development everywhere else in the community as well.
Thanks, Chief.
I agree with Chief Doherty. It's going to be give us an opportunity to make vast improvements throughout the city. And with respect to the police department, I think I can really move this department well into the future with gains I wouldn't have had otherwise without the casino. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, great. Commissioner Evans.
You know, I have a real sense that this casino will be the safest environment anywhere. And I base that on the whole idea of leadership. You have tremendous leadership, these two gentlemen, sitting down in advance, working together. I mean, I think one of the things that has worked very, very well in and around Boston is this collaboration between police and fire departments, and just being focused on what do we need to do, what type of strategies do we have to take in place. And I think you have the leadership in both law enforcement, public safety, fire department to address these issues so that, in fact, our ultimate goal is a safe environment, not only in the casino, but more importantly in the surrounding communities.
Well, great. I appreciate all of you coming in and
thank you.
talking to us today and giving us this great information. This is just going to help provide all the information that everybody needs to make an informed decision. And thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see you on the next session and the final session with Kathy Ann Reinstein, State Representative, and Senator Anthony Petroselli. Coming up.